In celebration of Halloween, as well as the upcoming Ghostbusters Afterlife, I made my kiddos a wearable proton pack. This will be the fourth or maybe fifth Ghostbusters themed video that I've done recently. But look, this is a very exciting time for me. Not only do we have the upcoming Ghostbusters Afterlife coming out in less than a month, but also my kiddos, who are just 2 and 3 years old, love Ghostbusters so much that for Halloween, they're going to be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and a Ghostbuster. And I know what you're probably thinking.
Whose idea was it?
But it really was their idea, I promise. Even though they might have been, slightly influenced by my own Halloween costume choices over the years, from my own childhood to young adulthood, all the way to big old grown fella. Anyway, the Ghostbusters costume for my daughter is actually a pretty good fit and an excellent costume overall, all the way up until the point where you take a look at the included proton pack, which is, it's this little, fanny pack, printed fanny pack. Oh, and how about the Neutrona wand, which, look at this, it's not even straight. It's just a piece of EVA foam, basically like a, thick, workout mat with a printed image on it. That's bad. I mean, seriously, what is this?
That looks terrible.
Yeah.
I am not sending my daughter out into the world with a garbage proton pack. It's not the kind of dad I am. So I ended up jumping on My Mini Factory, and I found this awesome 50% scale proton pack that is designed to be tough and durable for kiddos. It was designed by Mr. Kyo. I cannot say this for the life of me. But look, there's a link down below if you want to go download it. It is free and it is awesome. Now, when I say that it's tough for kiddos, what I mean is that there were some instances where decisions needed to be made between making something that is sturdy, durable, and reliable, and making something that is 100% movie accurate. And in every one of those circumstances, they went with the option that is going to make it more durable.
This is a big improvement.
The proton pack prints in 3 main pieces. I chose to print those on Lord Chungus Humongous at a 0.4mm layer height. Now, that's not great for fine detail. It's kind of thick, chunky layer lines. But the reason I did it is because at the standard 0.2mm layer height, it would have taken over 48 hours of continuous printing to print this thing. That's insane. Bumping that up to a 0.4mm layer height saved me 17 hours of print time. So now that I got those pieces printed, let's go ahead and put them together. But first, some drama.
Oh my god, there's a bee. What are you doing, bee?
Once that bee situation was solved, it was time to actually put the parts together. And that was done by utilizing the dowels that are included with the model, as well as some glue and a cheap 3D pen. Now, the 3D pen I use for 2 reasons. One is obviously for strength, but 2, and just as importantly, is for the look on the final product. I want it to look like this thing is made out of sloppily welded together metal. And this does a heck of a job doing that, especially since I'm sloppy with the 3D pen anyways.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Oh, and this is a good time to mention that I experienced a failure partway through the longest print of the entire project. I was about 15 hours into an 18-hour print when there was a tangle in the filament spool, which caused it to stop extruding. Now, I could have very easily just tossed everything in the trash and reprinted the whole thing, but I'm cheap and I didn't want to do that. I also didn't want to waste that time. So instead what I did was carefully measure what had printed, perform a simple cut procedure in my slicer, and just reprint that failed 15%, that last little bit. And then I went ahead and glued that back on. Anyways, let's actually see this thing come together. The Neutrona wand went together in much the same way, so I'm just going to talk right over that part. The next step was paint. I started off by giving everything a single coat of a matte black Krylon Fusion spray paint. I use that for two reasons. One is to knock down the shine on it by using a matte black finish, and number two is it'll act as a great primer for the next layers of paint that go on top of it. I then painted the brown parts brown, the silver parts silver. You get the idea. Oh, and I also learned why you shouldn't use a silver spray paint in a gentle breeze. Turns out it can just blow those metal flakes directly into a camera lens.
I made a mistake.
So here's the actual painting and weathering. And for the weathering, I just used a silver acrylic paint with a dry brush technique to hit the high spots and what I would consider high touch areas. So it should look like that they're made of metal and the black paint is wearing off. Pretty cool, pretty easy. I love this technique. I don't know why I thought just dripping paint into those cyclotron lenses would look good. It really wouldn't, because the lenses shouldn't be all the way back in there, inset that far. And also, just dripping paint, that's so lazy and terrible. So I tried something different for the power cell. I tried mixing some gel medium and some paint together to create a thicker mixture where I could fill it all the way to the top. And I also hated that, because that was going to be awful as well.
How could you possibly think this is a good idea?
So I had to stop and reevaluate. And of course, my solution was to turn to the DIYer's miracle cure, resin. I mixed up 2 small batches of XTC 3D from Smooth On, mixed in some brand new pigments that I haven't used for anything until this project right here, and filled them up. And I think it looks pretty darn good. Might actually be my favorite part of the whole project so far. Next up was the set dressing. Now this is mainly stickers and wires, and when it comes to the stickers, they were just printed on an inkjet printer, laminated, and then most importantly, weathered by using a stainless steel brush, along with an X-Acto knife and a sanding sponge. That allowed me to kind of bring them down and make them look well worn. Now, I also had to print 2 parts of my own design for this part, and those are for 2 different reasons. One is because the original model didn't have anywhere to actually plug in a ribbon cable connector. It looks like the designer had just sort of cut the connector off the end and glued down a cable. I didn't like that. I wanted something a little more custom and something a little more movie accurate. So I made my own and ended up welding that down with that 3D pen.
What's the second thing?
The other part I printed to cover for the fact that I'm a big old dum-dum. You see, for quite a while, I actually lost track of the link where I found the original model. I couldn't find it online anymore, so when I was putting everything together, I didn't know what size hoses this thing was designed to fit. So instead, I designed an adapter to use the hoses that I already had, which, compared to what should be there, were apparently super teeny tiny, way the wrong size. But it doesn't matter because the end result looks great. Now that it's all put together, let's get a couple good shots of that final product. I love Ghostbusters. But the irony is my kids now have a significantly more movie-accurate proton pack than I have ever had.
How is that possible?
You know, I've never 3D printed anything for my own proton pack. I've been 3D printing for 7 years. I've been a Ghostbuster for over 11, every Halloween. I've never 3D printed something for my own costume. It's insane. Hey, look, I'm done with this video, so why don't you go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. You'll become my favorite viewer of all time. Yes, there is currently a tie between 192 people, but you'll get to share a piece of the pie. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Bye! The shirt is actually ideal for this, but you can't even see it. Close, but not that close. Worked great, but, you know.